E aí, pessoal, esse vídeo agora é para deixar o agro e principalmente a cadeia citrícola tão importante para o Brasil, ciente das coisas que estão acontecendo, dos grandes desafios. Então aqui nós vamos contar uma história para vocês em episódios do que foi a nossa participação no Juice Summit, que aconteceu em Antuérpia, na Bélgica, no mês de outubro, e é o evento mais importante do setor citrícola mundial, porque é onde se reúnem 400, 500 executivos das empresas envasadoras de suco, principalmente. A cadeia produtiva do Brasil está presente, varejistas, enfim, é toda a turma do suco. Então, nós vamos contar essa historinha para vocês agora. Primeiro passo, eu queria contar da história desse evento, né? Eu tive já a chance de ir diversas vezes. Uma primeira vez que eu lembro foi para mostrar a transparência da cadeia produtiva do suco de laranja brasileiro, trabalho de mapeamento e quantificação. Esse trabalho começou e acabou virando uma tradição do nosso grupo, né? Montar essas fotos com todos os valores da cadeia produtiva. Para vocês da laranja, esse pedido sabe de quem que veio? Do Ademerval Garcia, quando era presidente da antiga AB Citrus, e ele chegou para mim, o escritório era aqui em Ribeirão Preto, falou: Marcos, eu queria um desenho da cadeia com todos os valores, o PIB, pagamento de impostos, emprego, numa folha só, para poder explicar para todo mundo. Então, nós fizemos esse trabalho, tivemos a chance depois de produzir livros, materiais, e foi então uma ida lá no Juice Summit para mostrar a cadeia produtiva brasileira, os seus grandes números, as grandes estratégias. Então esse foi um dos episódios de ida lá no Juice Summit. Um segundo episódio, uma segunda ida lá no Summit, essa foi bem mais complicada. O Brasil estava vivendo um momento onde as grandes oscilações de preço do suco de laranja e da caixa de laranja estava trazendo um problema incrível aí para a cadeia produtiva. Vocês produtores vão lembrar bem desse momento, né? E o Brasil estava perante uma safra gigantesca de fruta que ia derrubar o preço do suco de laranja para 700, 600 dólares, né, do suco concentrado congelado. E aí nós bolamos uma estratégia muito interessante que foi via governo para manutenção de estoques no Brasil, uma linha especial de crédito, para que você regulasse um pouco essa oferta e segurasse um pouco de estoques no Brasil, não permitindo uma destruição de valor incrível do suco, que tiraria aí dos citricultores brasileiros algo como 500 a 800 milhões de reais. Mas não foi fácil, nós fomos lá no Juice Summit mostrar que essas oscilações de preço estavam destruindo a cadeia produtiva, estava tirando gente aí do setor, e foi uma estratégia interessante. O Brasil conseguiu manter um patamar de preço, vocês estão vendo aí, saiu na Folha de São Paulo e tal, e foi uma estratégia que nós bolamos muito legal em conjunto aí com o setor para poder efetivamente ter essa sustentabilidade tão necessária para a cadeia produtiva. É lógico que lá o pessoal não gostou muito, mas viu que era uma medida interessante para que essas flutuações não acontecessem tanto, né? Um outro episódio que eu me lembro muito importante de ida ao Juice Summit foi quando fomos contar sobre a PES, Programa de Estimativa de Safra da laranja. O pessoal aí lembra como que eram as estimativas de safra antes do projeto, da nossa ideia aí de ter uma estimativa que fosse conjunta da cadeia produtiva, muito bem feita já num projeto 10 anos com o Fundecitrus. Antes nós tínhamos uma estimativa feita pelo órgão público do Brasil, pelo USDA, pelas empresas, né? E aí acabou sendo muito interessante porque o volume de laranja do Brasil é uma das informações mais importantes para a cadeia de distribuição e envasamento de suco no mundo. Tanto que quando o Fundecitrus faz esses eventos, um monte de gente de diversos países assiste, e nós fomos lá mostrar a metodologia nova, mostrar o que eles poderiam esperar a partir daquele momento com a estimativa de safra. Então foi mais um episódio de ida lá ao Juice Summit para mostrar as evoluções em termos de transparência da cadeia produtiva de suco de laranja do Brasil. E esse ano, o nosso desafio de ir lá junto com o Fundecitrus foi de mostrar a grave situação que nós estamos enfrentando aqui no Brasil. As nossas safras que chegaram quase perto de 500 milhões de caixas, né? Lembra, os americanos chegaram a produzir 240 milhões, vão fazer 15 milhões esse ano, e o Brasil 215, principalmente devido à incidência do greening e o clima, que esse ano foi terrível aí para a laranja. Então nós fomos lá explicar isso, por que o preço está tão alto, né? Quais são as alternativas que nós temos, né? Os movimentos, né, as ameaças todas aí que estão acontecendo, para que o europeu pudesse entender isso. Então nós fizemos isso aí, eu fiz uma primeira participação, na sequência uma participação do Fundecitrus, e foi mostrado um vídeo muito bonito do Fundecitrus, que é a continuidade aqui desse nosso bate-papo hoje. Então, primeira parte, vocês vão assistir agora, e lamentavelmente o evento não gravou, nós não tivemos uma gravação oficial do evento, então os registros que estão aqui, históricos, né, foram feitos pelo Nelson, lá do Fundecitrus. Então vocês vão ver que é uma gravação a partir de celular, mas dá para entender bem, e nós estamos colocando os slides para ficarem mais claros aí para vocês entenderem a situação de momento da citricultura. Então a primeira apresentação é a minha, ao redor aí de 10 minutos, convido vocês a assistirem e entenderem o que é que está acontecendo na citricultura brasileira.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here at the Juice Summit again. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the industry. We're being in the headlights. Unfortunately, it's not because of health, not because of the content delivery that we have in this product, which is one of the best liquid foods that the world has, but it's because of the situation that we're facing nowadays in the most important supply. So the news are covering this, and for me, I have a chance to study food and agribusiness in Brazil and in the world for the last 30 years. I started with 5. I know that you guys work with 30 years already, so I started with 5. And what I've seen in Brazil: soybeans move to 60% of world's market share, corn moving up, coffee moving up, eucalyptus, paper and pulp moving up, poultry moving up, pork moving up. All these guys moving up, from tobacco to corn, to pork, to meat, to whatever you can imagine. Brazil now is leading 10 of the most important commodities in the world. But what happened with orange? And it went to the first floor. So why? What happened? First of all, we have less area going on. So you can see here the two most important producers. That's Brazil and Florida. And Brazil is orange and Florida is blue. So the area of the most important supplier to you guys, suppliers, is shrinking. Why is it shrinking? Well, because of lack of margins in the past, because of diseases, because of very high production costs, because of competition with sugarcane. You know that orange in Brazil is in a very high quality area, competing with soybeans, with sugarcane, crops that were giving more results to farmers. So we saw the area decrease. So at least we can be saved by yields. When we have area decreasing, we can be saved by yields. Let's see what happened with yields in Brazil and Florida. So Florida again is the blue one, and Brazil is the orange one. So we started going up with more plants per hectare, with more productivity, modern techniques. So we went up and Florida went down and almost disappeared. But then Brazil started going down again, mostly because of the climate situation that we're facing, and also because of greening and other problems that we have. Greening is not the only problem that we have. So now let's look at production. So let's see what can be the information when we multiply area versus yield. Now you're going to see what happened with production. Take a look with me just here in the total. Now you have all information of all countries of the orange that's going for processing, that orange that matters for the Juice Summit. So look here, we used to have 650 million boxes going for crushing. Now, how many do we have? How much? We have 350 million boxes. So look at what happened to the production of orange that goes to the industry. So you can see here idle capacity, you can see here a lot of problems that the industry is facing nowadays. So this is the most important chart that you're going to take home, because it gives you a picture after you crush that orange, and we see that Brazil is going down, Florida disappeared, it produces juice. So now I brought you the data about juice, and you can see here juice, although it seems polluted, it's a nice graph for you to analyze. All these are countries, the different colors are countries. So in the bar, you see the volume of juice produced in the last 30 years. So it went to the maximum of almost 2.8 million tons, and then it came down to 1.2 million tons. So that's the sad situation. Remember, I did this with all the commodities in Brazil, and then orange going down. It's a different situation from what we have over there. So we almost lost inventories. There's no more inventories. This is yellow and blue. Blue are the inventories in Florida, and the yellow inventories are raised by Citrus BR, which is here represented by Ibiapaba, its CEO. So the inventories went down, production went down, and also we have a structural problem that we're not talking too much, but the last panel gave us a lot of nice ideas. That is the decline in consumption. That is a structural problem because of the traditional, beverages, new beverages being launched every day, and things that we saw in the last panel. So the production is falling, and the markets, the demand, it's the gray line, the pink line that you see up there, and we stopped measuring this in 17-18, but you can see the top 40 markets that drink orange juice had a huge decline. So this is something that we should also address. So to finish my 10 minutes, I'm summarizing for you some of the points here. We had the devastating effects of greening, hurricanes, so all what we call the macro-environmental variables. You study this as someone in strategy, the economic and political, natural environment, technological environment, a lot of things having problems here. So the cost, Florida industry, all the infrastructure almost disappeared. Then we have the effects, as I told you, of greening. In São Paulo production, you've seen in the video, and also Juliano and Leandro will show you guys, we have a terrible weather nowadays. It's too warm, and trees are suffering. Of course, we must improve irrigation, we must improve different areas where the tree can be more protected, but we have this situation complicating our life. We have the asset base of São Paulo also working in a 47% utilization rate. So you can imagine the cost for the industry, all the trucks that we have, all the infrastructure, the assets that the chain has, this is sub-utilized. So this brings also inefficiency going on. As I told you, this is number 5. Mexico, Spain, Brazilian Northeast, and other areas in the planet are not, unfortunately, being able to substitute the importance of São Paulo and the citrus belt in Brazil. This expansion is going on, is one of the solutions that we have for the future. So this will bring you good news, as Juliana was pointing out. We have, as I told you, a structural decline in orange juice consumption. A lot of marketing should be done, a lot of new strategies should be done based upon the things that we've seen with the previous presenters. Consumers losing interest in the category due to a lack of marketing, risks of losing space in shelf space in supermarkets, which is also a problem for us. And finally, financial disruption to bottlers. Most of you guys that are here, very important agents for the Brazilian citrus trying to reach the final consumer, now facing a tough problem. So as I told you, it was a nightmare. and this is my last slide that I want to leave this challenge with you guys. Should we continue the trend of that graph, the most important one that I told you, and then I'll be back here in the Juice Summit. Then I hope I don't show you the graph going down and also that looking at close to that door over there. So you guys here in this industry, you have the chance to move towards the graphic up again in terms of production, in terms of conquering shelf space, in terms of getting the consumers back. So this is the inflection point that I want to make to you guys. So we have, I'm very positive towards the future of the industry because of you guys, because of the people that we have doing business, creating. So I am very positive and I really believe in science. And we're gonna receive here Leandro and Juliano, and at this moment we really need science. Marcos, choose one topic, one bullet that you have, silver bullet. Do you want to reach consumer? Do you want to reach marketing, strategy? No, science in order to solve the issue of the disease. That's top, the number one problem. Then we can face the other problems.
Essa segunda parte, apresentada lá no Juice Summit em Antuérpia, foi muito interessante, com a presença do Juliano e do Leandro. A ideia de contar para o setor como o Brasil está combatendo o greening e principalmente a grande esperança da citricultura, que é a contribuição que será dada por uma nova árvore que tem uma característica muito interessante, que vem do gene da goiaba, que emite um cheiro que o psilídeo não senta e não infecta a planta, uma incidência muito menor de infecção aí com o greening. Então o desafio de mostrar para a cadeia produtiva do suco de laranja, desde varejistas, industriais, essa inovação que eu tenho muito orgulho de saber que foi feita no Brasil, em Araraquara, no nosso Fundecitrus, e pode significar uma nova história para a citricultura do mundo. Então vejam que interessante aí o Juliano e o Leandro contando para as pessoas essa história aí.
But I was thinking what to say to you today. And I'm a look guy, because Marx was saying what's the importance of science. And I have I would say, the best scientist that I knew in my life that worked physics, citrus. This guy was, his son maybe is more famous than the father, José Bové. Professor José Bové has 2 Nobel Prize as a professor. One in Versailles, another in California. And all the time that he was working with us, he was my professor in Valencia, he said, Juliano, you don't know what's greening, what greening could do in one of citrus industry. And we had the insect since 2004, and we detect disease in March of 2004. I called him from the farm that I saw the problem the first time. And he said, the citrus industry now will change. You see, you cannot compare greening with any kind of disease. You can have 10 terrible diseases that will be 50% of greening. And you need science, you need to think different to save the citrus industry. He said to the people in Florida, and he wrote that in 2020 the production in Florida will be 50 million bucks. Do you know how much was the production? 48. Everything that he said and he wrote is happening. But I'm not came here to give bad news. I came here to say that he dreams. It was not mine. He was our professor of Leandro too. We came now with good news. In 2004, when the disease appeared in São Paulo, 2005 in Florida, 2006 in Cuba, probably we knew 10% that we know today. And this is this brings the situation very different. How is the situation of green in Brazil in the world? Okay, this we will present in two ways. First, you see that basically the citrus, the main fruit in the world, you can produce in almost all the continent that you don't have freeze. And the green until 2004 was just Africa and Asia. But now it's almost all the world, just Mediterranean area. And Australia, that's important, doesn't have the green now. It's a world problem. Okay. But what we knew about this disease in 2004? We started learning. The most of questions cannot answer. And you see that it did a very strong eradication management program in the first 10 years. We could stop the disease, but later the population of the insect started to increase. The growers start to stop the eradication of the infected trees. And 5 years ago, something changed. The population of psyllid, that's the vector of the bacteria, started to increase a lot. It was the COVID time. We didn't know why. What's happened? The psyllid started to be resistant against the insecticide. The growers stopped to remove trees. And this made a big difference. The disease was increasing 5-10% per year. From 2023 to 24, increased almost 60%, 52%. From 24% increased to 38%. But we start to understand what's going on. We need rotated insecticide. We cannot more plant close of the infected growths. We need to move. We need to do everything that Professor Bouvet said before. And you see that now we have 60% of the population of the insect. The tax of the increase of the disease start to decrease. We start to see light in the final of the tunnel because we have the diagnosis. We know what's going on, and you are teaching the growers what do you need to do. And any disease, any problem, you have the climate, that the environment, that change everything. And we know now that the warm area or the cooler area is not too good to the psyllid and the bacteria. If you plant in these specific areas, the dissemination will be slower. And you see what's in the red, that's the heart of the citrus belt. The incidence is very high. But when you see the north or the south, it's completely different. When you see that the incidence is 44%, it's the average, but we have some areas with less than 1%. And we know why this is happening. What to do? Okay, we have two big challenges in Brazil or in the citrus area in the world. The climate condition, why our production reduced a lot. We are producing 25% less than we produced 1 year before. And our crop is decreasing the last year. The first answer is not because of greening, it is because of the climate condition. 50% of our area or doesn't have irrigation, or they're planting the area that we don't have rain enough. With this, our crop decreases. You see, 4 Celsius higher, 30% less rain. All this impacted our citrus industry. Okay, with this, our crop decreased in the last year. But the main question will be, this will be forever? Of course no. This is came El Niño, La Niña, this is a momentary problem. And now start to rain well in Brazil. The blast will come. I can predict that with almost sure next crop will be higher. How much? We don't know, depending on the climate. But we are in the worst crop in the last 30 years. In the situation tends to increase again. Next year, probably have a better crop. And this is the main question that we need to try and answer. We need to think about the climate, we need to think about the greening. These two things will be the key point. 40 years ago, we wrote a paper with Professor Bouvet, our staff in the growers, say what to do to have a health growth with high productivity. We knew, but we improved from 2010 to now. And now we know that choose there is the key point. That this you cannot do a control alone. That need to be a management that you do with everybody. If you use all the knowledge and do everything, you can have a growth with a very low incidence. Okay, thinking short term or medium term. When you see our last survey from Fundecitrus, in these figures, you see bad news and good news. The bad news is that the incidence is increasing the adult growth. Why? Because that knowledge that we had before. And what's going on now? Now the curve starts decrease. And we can predict that planting in isolated areas, like now in another state or in some specific area in São Paulo, like Mato Grosso do Sul, Minas Gerais, the incidence will be decreased. The new growths, the growers that are smart, they are choosing the best place with irrigation, and the new growths will be completely different than we have today. Okay, in the medium term, short term the incidence of greening will increase, but I can say for you with sure that the medium term the incidence will decrease. Now we will know where we should plant. All 80% of the groves now they are using irrigation. Before it was 40%. We are planting 20% more young trees this year than last year. Probably next year will be 40% more. And with another technology, the productivity will be much higher. And in the future, this main question, my friend Leandro Peña, that's the best scientist that work in the world, he will answer. Leandro dedicated 5 years of his life, changed the city from Valencia, close of the Mediterranean area, with Araraquara. And now is the time that Leandro need to talk.
Luckily, I think the movie that Fundecitrus team prepared made an excellent overview of the technology we have developed and we are developing in Brazil, in São Paulo, together with partners from Europe and other countries in the world, to try to overcome at the medium term the problems that we are facing with greening. The video already mentioned that we have produced orange trees, Valencia orange, Vera sweet orange trees, repellent to the insect vector. I am not going to insist into that. We are working also in a strategy, the film also presented that the border area is instrumental for greening management because the silage tend to concentrate at the border of the farms. So we are working in a strategy to try to not only bring the silage, push the silage to the trap plants, but also kill them, reduce the population of the silage once they set there. And the third, which is an excellent news in my opinion, because we didn't have this when we started to work on the problem 15 years ago, is that we have identified finally resistant to the bacterium causing the disease into a citrus relative which is sexually compatible with citrus. So we are able to, and we have already started a breeding program with a far relative but sexually compatible with citrus, Australian citrus species, and more specifically the desert lime. This is the most resistant citrus, which is not edible, but we are able to incorporate the gene or the genes providing resistance to this species into sweet oranges and mandarins. And before that, using the modern breeding technology, we are working on identifying the genes, the traits that are making this tree to be resistant to the bacterium causing greening. And the growth of the future is not only based in modern breeding, but depends very much on the integration of different technologies. We use biological control. This is extremely important with the Tamaricia radiata to be able to reduce the population of the insect. We should continue using at proper moments insecticides, systemic insecticides. The video was talking about the importance at the first years after planting of using this calling, which is confounding the insect, and this insect becomes unable to identify properly the sweet orange trees. We are also working in other technologies that are going to improve and to increase the production in our groves with smaller trees and using mechanical harvesting, making all the process cheaper. And lastly, we have the plant improvement by using the modern technologies I talked about before.
We would like to invite you to come in next year in Brazil, in July, to see what we are saying that the growth of future, that I would say that the growth for today, okay, that you came. I think it will be a special moment. It will be very important that everybody join us. And this day, we hope to see you in Brazil. You can see in the field, you can see the groves, the orange.
Agora eu convido vocês, logo depois aí da apresentação do Juliano e do Nelson, para assistirem o vídeo que o Fundecitrus fez da cadeia da laranja do Brasil. Olha que coisa maravilhosa, verdadeira obra-prima que vai emocionar todos vocês com as imagens, com o conteúdo que foi colocado. Vamos rodar ele aí na sequência agora.
Resisting. The history of citriculture in São Paulo and Minas Gerais is a history of resistance. Because one thing is to grow citrus, but another is to grow citrus in tropical conditions. Since the 1930s, citriculture in São Paulo and Minas Gerais has faced daily phytosanitary challenges, causing fruit drop, impacting production, and incurring losses. After the citrus tristeza, citrus canker, citrus variegated chlorosis or CVC, and citrus sudden death would follow. No other crop in Brazil has withstood so many problems with pests and diseases as orange, lemon, acid lime, and mandarin groves have. But the worst of all storms came later. In 2004, when greening, or HLB, was identified in Brazil, There is the citrus industry before greening, and there is another one after greening, much more difficult. Wherever it went, China, India, Vietnam, Indonesia, South America, the Caribbean, Mexico, the United States, greening left unmistakable traces of destruction. But why do Sao Paulo and Minas Gerais resist? Mainly due to two factors. The first factor is the vocation for science. Sao Paulo State, through scientific institutions and research and development agencies, has become to be structured to address agribusiness issues. For over 100 years, due to pests in coffee plantations. Then, in 1977, citrus growers established the Fund for Citrus Protection, Funda Citrus. The second factor is the knowledge accumulated from all past challenges in the field. For example, with CVC, the importance of planting healthy nursery plants, removing diseased plants, and controlling the transmitting insect was learned. These measures, years later, served as the basis for controlling greening, when the sector still knew little about the disease. And because you can make lemonade out of lemons, the crisis became an opportunity due to increased changes with teaching, research, and technology development centers in Brazil and around the world. Funda Citrus, together with other project partners from FAPESP, put Brazil on the international science map and became a global reference in science and sustainability for citriculture. As science is also driven by chance, by what is unexpected, by what is surprising. Wasn't that the case with penicillin? Reports from Vietnam suggested that mandarin trees interplanted with guava trees had lower incidences of greening than groves with only mandarin trees. They didn't know, but the scientists and citrus growers from the delegation led by Funda Citrus were on the other side of the world, looking at the grove of the future. The grove of the future is built on knowledge and produces sustainability. The grove of the future features integrated pest management, biological control, and biotechnology. It works based on 3 pillars: the choice of the planting area and the external management in the surroundings of the farm, the border, and the interior. Rule number 1. Choose planting microregions with low or, even better, very low incidence of the disease, with neighbors willing to act together, simultaneously, and rigorously in controlling greening. In the surroundings of the farm, external management involves replacing citrus plants that do not receive proper treatment with other fruit species, reducing contamination sources. And in backyards and hard-to-access areas, with the release of Tamarixia radiata, a small wasp that is a natural enemy of the psyllid. The concept of border is strategic in the grove of the future. First, it acts as a barrier to wind currents that carry the psyllid into the grove. But the greatest move is to make it an area that attracts the psyllid. When the enemy is concentrated in a specific location, it is easier to act. The orange trees in the border are more vigorous. Therefore, they flush more, attracting the psyllid, which prefers the tender tissue of the shoots. To enhance this attraction, a trap plant is used, curry leaf or orange jasmine, extremely attractive to the psyllid. Everything in the border is inviting to the insect. Thus, control is much more efficient, much more sustainable. To talk about the grove's interior, we need to return to Vietnam. It has been proven in the laboratory that caryophyllene, a volatile compound from guava trees, is unpleasant to the psyllid, serving as a natural repellent. Interestingly, caryophyllene is also present in orange trees. The main question was how to make orange trees emit a larger amount of this volatile compound to repel the psyllid. After 15 years of research, these orange trees now exist using safe and modern plant improvement technology and are in the world's largest field trial of repellency. And initial results show that the incidence of greening in these plants is lower. Hope is only given to those who are resistant. But these orange trees do not readily mature for the caryophyllene emission to be the highest. So, when they are young, they are treated with kaolin, a rocky, mineral, natural, non-toxic substance that camouflages the plant, confusing the psyllid. And these trees with repellent canopies in the future grove's interior will be on dwarfing rootstocks that flush less. Therefore, if kaolin confuses it, if there are few shoots for it to feed on, and if the orange trees repel it, where does the insect go? Bingo! It is directed to the border, to the attracting area, where the whole insect population will be concentrated. The surroundings, the borders, and the interior of the grove of the future is where the intelligence is. And most importantly, it is not a scientific revolution that only saves Brazilian citriculture. It is a technological suite that all citrus growing regions worldwide can benefit from. Greening has no cure. The knowledge accumulated so far has not been enough to stop the disease, which seriously threatens the world's largest orange juice industry. Various therapeutic or rehabilitation methods have been tested. Pruning symptomatic branches, thermotherapy, resistance inducers, antimicrobial peptides, antibiotics, nutritional cocktails, unlocking phloem vessels, growth regulators, individual plant protection with anti-psyllid screens, reflective plastic film. But all of them, invariably, end up being somehow impractical. The citrus industry in Sao Paulo and Minas Gerais is a source of economic, social, environmental, and nutritional wealth. And science has been making this historic activity increasingly sustainable, balancing production and protection with rational use of natural resources, addressing most of today's global challenges at once. How, after all, to produce food for a still growing global population with the real threat of impracticability due to greening in an already established scenario of climate change with the least environmental impact possible. That's exactly what Brazilian citriculture is doing, because all resistance is a form of reinvention.
Agora tem um pedacinho que foi uma pergunta que foi feita aí pela audiência, justamente sobre o que eu penso em termos de estratégia de futuro dessa cadeia produtiva. E eu pude organizar um pouco ali das ideias. Vocês podem acompanhar agora num vídeo curtinho a resposta dos grandes desafios e das grandes estratégias que nós precisamos ter em relação aí à laranja.
So if we have to assume that the situation will still last a certain period of time, Marcos, what's your personal view about marketing orange juice in these difficult times?
Well, at this moment, I think that we should search, because we have a lower volume of products, we should search for higher margins in order to compensate. I know that this will bring an impact of lowering consumption, but probably the future of orange juice will be each time more linked to a liquid food, something unique that delivers to you health, delivers to you, you lose your hunger when you are drinking orange for after some time, and it's a complicated business that we have in the world because it's a very sensitive tree. So I think as someone who studies food chain coordination and chain strategies, it's time now to sit together to see how can we solve the problem that we have and build up a strategy. But I think in the future, again, my final point is that the positioning of orange juice will be higher. We have to follow a little bit the path of coffee, which is a unique product, and coffee now is becoming like wine. You know, you can identify the origin, you can identify the strength, and you can identify several different things within the coffee. So I think orange should not go to coconut water or to this mixed beverages and this kind of things. We should move towards a well-positioned product that delivers a lot and costs what it delivers.
Agora, nessa parte final, tem um encerramento do moderador, o Joaquim, que é uma figura folclórica aí do setor de suco de laranja, muito conhecido, muito respeitado, já teve em diversas organizações, CEO de empresas. Ele moderou o painel muito bem e faz aí agora um encerramento.
Obviously, we are having a serious problem in our industry with oranges fighting for their survival. It has grown into a worldwide threat for the orange industry, which may be destroyed, when we follow the opinions of the guys here, if we don't counteract. Something must be done. But the other message is, we can survive. One promising approach is the orchard of the future, which has been presented today, a package of countermeasures which have been introduced to you today, and the question is how long it would be taking to put them into reality. And the third idea I have put down to conclude the session is one time seeing is better than 10 times hearing. And the guys here are going to schedule a meeting in Brazil next July when they like to show their progress. This could be the inflection point Marcos has mentioned in his contribution on the track of our challenge. Some comments. Thank you very much again and thank you for your attention.
Então, pessoal, espero que vocês gostaram, né? Aqui está um registro histórico da citricultura brasileira, que eu tenho muito orgulho de participar. É um setor que eu trabalho há 30 anos, 35 anos, desde as saudosas idas com o meu pai, professor Evaristo Marzabal Neves, doutor Antônio Ambrosio Amaro, final dos anos 80, lá no Centro de Citricultura em Corderópolis, né, no auditório Silvio Moreira, apresentações históricas, e eu tenho muito orgulho do trabalho ao longo desses 30 anos com a cadeia de suco de laranja, que é tão importante para o Brasil, né, traz todos os anos aí cerca de 10 bilhões de reais, gera um monte de oportunidades às pessoas. Aqui mesmo no canal Doutor Agro tem diversos vídeos da cadeia da laranja, convido vocês aí a assistirem, mas foi mais um evento forte, um evento importante, com a presença nossa da universidade, com a presença do Fundecitrus, trazendo mais próximo, né, o que está acontecendo aqui do ambiente que nos importa, que é a Europa, né, que toma praticamente 70% do suco feito aqui no Brasil. Então é isso aí, em defesa do nosso agro, em defesa da nossa citricultura, que tanta alegria trouxe já para o nosso estado de São Paulo e para o Brasil. Obrigado pela paciência, pessoal. Espero que vocês tenham gostado aí desse registro histórico do setor. Valeu!